What is good, everybody? What's good? What's good? What's good? This is your boy Manny, and welcome to the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel. We're going to be talking fantasy football, crazy week one, tons of surprises all over the place. But I'm going to run my intro, and we're going to get this thing on and popping. So with week one here and it's gone, it was awesome week one. Tons of storylines, tons of surprises. Jordan Love, man, losing Jordan Love for a few weeks. Thank God that it wasn't a season-ending injury. We lost Puka Nacua as well. So yeah, we've gotten some major losses, and then we also had guys like Dalton Kincaid and Mark Andrews, Joe Burrow. The list goes on of so many players that were duds this week. But let's go ahead and recap where we are right now in terms of the leaders in the NFL. You have Baker Mayfield as the number one QB in fantasy right now, leading with 37.7 points. Played a weak and awful Commanders defense, so he was able to kind of go crazy there. Number two, you have Josh Allen. As long as he continues to run, he continues to put up numbers. Then you have Anthony Richardson. At number three, you have Derek Carr at 4, which is a major surprise, man. Derek Carr had 3 passing TDs. He had 200 yards passing. He just had a really all-around pretty good game. And, I mean, Derek Carr was the guy that I was getting late, super late in drafts, and this guy just paid dividends, man. And, Derek Carr, yes, he played the Carolina Panthers. So, yes, matchup is a thing. Like, when you get good matchups, you're going to put up numbers, right? So am I expecting Derek Carr to continue this kind of performance throughout the season? I'm not sure. He's going to face the Dallas Cowboys in week 2. If he plays close to this, then man, Derek Carr is going to have a pretty good season. Like, if Derek Carr comes out there, goes for 200 plus yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, limits his turnovers, no fumbles against that crazy pass rush by Dallas, then I can say, man, Derek Carr could potentially have a good season. But he was a guy that was going late in drafts, both redraft and dynasty, late. So if you got Derek Carr on your team, he paid dividends in week 1, coming in as the number 4 QB. At number 5, you have Lamar Jackson, who continues to run the ball well. That's what he does best. He missed some touchdown throws that could have even boosted his numbers even more. Lamar Jackson could have been QB1 had he connected with Zay Flowers, and also had Isaiah Likely caught that pass. Moving on along, coming in at QB6 was Jaden Daniels, Commanders rookie QB. Jaden Daniels performed better than any rookie this week. But what scares me about Jaden Daniels is that I want him to be more of a passer, and he seems to be more of a runner. And if you watch the game, that second touchdown that he got, he kind of forced it. His helmet came off a couple times. So if you have Jaden Daniels, man, just use caution. Make sure you have his handcuff, or make sure you have a backup QB, especially in Superflex leagues. This could come back to bite you. Number 7, CJ Stroud. Number 8, Jordan Love. Even with the injury, he played well. Jordan Love played phenomenal. Could have had even a bigger week. Geno Smith, biggest surprise, QB9. But when so many elite QBs play bad, you can expect a mediocre to mid QB to be in the top 12. So Geno Smith right now is QB9. Tua Tagovailoa, QB10. It seems like he should have had a bigger week, but maybe 1 touchdown less, or maybe him not having rushing yards. That's why I love the QBs that rush for fantasy, not for my real team, but for fantasy. When you're running the ball, you get more points. So Tua leads the NFL right now in passing yards, I believe, with 338 yards passing. He did have 2 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill is phenomenal. He had 1 passing TD, so that's really what did it for him. He did not get the touchdown work in order to catapult up these numbers. Jalen Hurts, 20 points. He came in at QB 11. QB 12, Sam Darnold, man. Sam Darnold looked good. He looked good. 208 yards passing, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 INT. He looked phenomenal. I'm glad that at least Justin Jefferson can still be relevant even with a downgrade in QB. Speaking of QB, Kirk Cousins did not look all that good. He didn't even look good in his first game. Pittsburgh's defense was great. So as you guys are streaming or as you guys are starting your QBs, look at the matchups because matchups are going to be tough. Also, a lot of these guys did not play preseason. So week 1 is always a funny week. You never get the full story of what these players could be. But you kind of get to see the offense and how players are going to be used and different things like that. Injuries change everything, right? So, yeah, Patrick Mahomes coming in at QB 13. He had a terrible fantasy game, but a real good NFL real-life game. Matthew Stafford, solid as always, QB 14. Kyler Murray at 15. Jared Goff at 16. Deshaun Watson, when as bad as he played, came in QB 17. It just shows you how terrible the QBs were this week. Trevor Lawrence at 18. Bo Nix at 19. Being a rookie, 13 points. Those 13 points was useful. I'm going to talk about some guys that Bo Nix outscored this week. Bo Nix outscored Gardner Minshew. Bo Nix outscored Dak Prescott and Justin Herbert and Aaron Rodgers. I mean, what was Aaron Rodgers doing last night? I don't know. But when you get to the bottom of it, Bryce Young, as bad as he played, finished as QB 24, which rounds up the QB2s. And if you continue to go down, there were guys that didn't even crack the top 25. You have Brock Purdy missing that top 25. You have Kirk Cousins missing that top 25. You have Joe Burrow, who came in QB 31. He looked awful. He was down there with Daniel Jones and Caleb Williams. So it's crazy when you look at it and you look at these guys that are elite. A lot of us drafted Joe Burrow in the first 2 rounds of startups and dynasty startups and things of that nature. And for him not to hit top 25 at least is pretty awful. Joe Burrow, QB 31. Let's see what he does in the following weeks. So let's go ahead and look at the running back. Saquon Barkley. And if you faded Saquon Barkley in fantasy, I feel sorry for you. If you faded him because you like the injury or let's say he's getting older, for those who play Dynasty, and then in redraft, I was not even thinking Saquon Barkley in the second round, man. He would have been a great second round pick, especially if you drafted in the early second round. Saquon had 33 points. He had 3 touchdowns, 1 receiving, 2 rushing. He looked amazing in his debut with the Eagles. Man, that offense looks scary. And because of Saquon, he's the only reason why Jalen Hurts didn't even have a bigger week. Joe Mixon came in RB2. Look at the vet RB stepping up. The only young guy that kind of came out of not came out of nowhere, but that was in the top 3 was Devon Achane. That offense is explosive in Miami. At RB4, J.K. Dobbins. We're going to talk a little bit about J.K. Dobbins a little bit more when we get into the waiver wire show portion of this podcast. Man, J.K. Dobbins, big surprise, man. 135 yards rushing. And the great thing about J.K. Dobbins is that we know who the Chargers are. They want to run the ball. And a wise guy told me, grab any running back for the Chargers and just plug him in, hold them, because that offense is going to be a running offense. And whichever RB is healthy and is getting volume, that's going to be the RB that is going to get the most love. We got Branson in the building. Brandon says, trade Jordan Mason with either Keon Coleman or Terry or Ladd McConkey for Olave. I would trade any bunch of those guys for Olave. I think Olave is going to have a great season, even though he had a bad week 1, but it's week 1. Olave is elite. Terry McLaurin is going to – it looks like he's going to struggle right now because we don't know who the Commanders are. So it's kind of fuzzy when you look at Terry. He's going to have his games. The Giants could be a game where Terry goes off, but at the same time, for a Chris Olave, sign me up. Jordan Mason with either Keon Coleman or Terry. Yeah, package any of those two to get Olave, I am all for it. Jordan Mason, we're going to talk a little bit about him next. He had a magnificent game. And you guys have to remember this. When you guys are looking at running backs, it's all about volume. It doesn't matter about talent. It's all about who gets the workload. Also, the rest of your comment says, could maybe also get Zamir White or Singletary or Jaylen Warren. Yes, if I had to pick out of those three, give me Zamir White. He is the bona fide starter there, even though that Alexander Madison looks good. He looks good this past week. Singletary, I'm off of right now. Jaylen Warren is kind of like shaky in that offense. I don't know what to expect, but out of those three guys, Zamir White, Singletary, and Jaylen Warren, give me Zamir White. So, talking about Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason, man, he stepped in for Christian McCaffrey, and he was able to have a magnificent performance. We got Andre in the building. He says, what's good, my guy? How you been, man? I've been great, man. It feels good to be back streaming again. It feels good to be back into the fantasy thing. I'll be doing more NFL stuff, NBA stuff when that gets going. So, man, it feels good. It feels good. I was talking about Jordan Mason. This guy got over 20-something, 28 carries, and then he ran for 147 yards, and he had a touchdown. This guy was RB4 with 22 points. That is crazy. That is a crazy stat that he was available in a lot of leagues. Christian McCaffrey goes down. If you have leagues where you can kind of scoop guys, a lot of guys went and got Jordan Mason. In Dynasty, I saw a couple people trade second-round picks to get Jordan Mason yesterday. I mean, that was wild. Wild performance. When CMC comes back, you cannot ignore Jordan Mason. I think he's going to be a thing moving forward. He's going to be a guy that kind of steals some carries away from Christian McCaffrey, even when he's healthy. Because guess what? If you want to prolong Christian McCaffrey's career, even this season, you're going to want to have a 1A, 1B type situation, right? So I think they're going to play it smart with Christian McCaffrey. I don't see him playing week 2, but we'll see what happens. Andre says, who's a RB you would trade for ETN? I'm trying to sell him ASAP. The Bigsby usage scares me. So here's the thing with ETN. ETN is going to be fine. It's similar to what's going to happen with Christian McCaffrey once he comes back healthy. You cannot ignore Jordan Mason. Now, if you want to trade ETN, and if this is a dynasty question, you can possibly go try to get a Jonathan Taylor. You know, the Jonathan Taylor owner might be scared that Anthony Richardson is going to steal some carries away from him. You can trade him for a guy like Kyron Williams if you like Kyron Williams. I don't see you getting the top 3 in Dynasty in terms of guys like Bijan Robinson, Breece Hall. I don't see you getting those kinds of guys for ETN. But those Jonathan Taylor types or if you want to downgrade and get you like a Pollard plus, or you get you like a Najee Harris plus, maybe 2 solid backs for ETN. I think ETN is going to be fine moving forward, but definitely a valid statement right there. So Alvin Kamara, man, this guy never misses, man. This guy came in RB6. He's solid, man. He gets receptions. He gets rushing yards. And it seems like the vets have been solid, especially in a small sample size. I mean, between Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, and Saquon Barkley, these are some aging guys. A guy that a lot of people faded this offseason was Ramondre Stevenson. You know, with the situation, is it going to be Drake May? Is it going to be Brissett? Ramondre Stevenson balled out, man. He had 120 yards rushing and a rushing score. He came in RB7, and he also had 20 points. RB8, James Conner, another one of the OGs, had 19 points this week and came out RB8. We got Uptown Dre in the building, man. What's good, man? It feels good to be back. It feels good to be back streaming with you guys. Thank you so much for hopping on the stream. Kenneth Walker, RB9. Why do people hate Kenneth Walker so much? He's solid, man. And Charbonnet has done nothing to even try to come and steal some thunder from this guy. Let's go ahead and rock the Commanders hat, even though my Commanders were trash this past Sunday. But, Jerome Ford came in RB10 with 18 points. Aaron Jones, another OG, RB11. Tony Pollard, RB12. That Titans offense scares me. But it seems like Tony Pollard is going to be a safety valve, and he's going to be a guy that's going to get a lot of receptions from Will Levis if he can even pass the ball and not, shovel a pick six. Uptown Dre says, I picked up 49ers RB Mason last night, and he got the win. Yes, yes, yes. For those of you guys that follow me on TikTok, I have several TikToks. Oh, well, just a couple. I have the Talking Sports with Manny TikTok, but also I have the Dynasty Overload TikTok where I drop a lot of fantasy nuggets. I dropped the video and I was like, man, Christian McCaffrey's out. Go grab any of the 49ers backs and see who's going to be the guy. And it happened to be Jordan Mason. He went plumb crazy. RB13, Brian Robinson Jr. He's the guy that I've been in on. A lot of guys are saying Eckler. I'm saying Brian Robinson Jr. What does Eckler do that Brian Robinson can't do? Yes, Eckler has better hands, but Brian Robinson, he shows that he can receive the ball. He had 49 yards receiving and 3 receptions. And with that, plus a rushing TD and 40 yards, gave him 17.9 points. If you started Brian Robinson Jr., you most likely had a chance to win your league. RB14, Jahmyr Gibbs. RB15, Breece Hall. RB16, Rashad White. These are 3 guys that were in the top 12 last year. But with the running backs, it's all about volume. It's all about game script. But I like these guys like Rashad White, Breece Hall, and Jahmyr Gibbs in PPR leagues because it's all about receptions. Point per reception is what's going to propel you to a difference between Jahmyr Gibbs having 17.4 points and David Montgomery having 16.3 points, being the guy that runs the ball, and he's going to be the one that gets the rushing TDs, the goal line carries for the most part. But Gibbs will always give you that upside with receiving. So I love receiving backs when it comes to PPR. Dre says, Manny, I have both Josh Allen and AR5 in Dynasty. Would you move one? Question, is it a 1 quarterback league or is it a super flex league, meaning 2 quarterback league? Because if it's a 1 quarterback league, definitely I'll try to move one of the 2 and try to get as much as I can for either one. But I think that Josh Allen is still going to be QB1 this season. He's just too good, man. He's just too good. Even with the limited weapons, I still see Allen propelling his team to wins. I'm going to see Allen. You're going to see Allen run more. You're going to see Allen maybe career high rushing TD. And that's always going to be something great for fantasy, rushing QBs. Michael says, would you trade Waddle for Puka? I also have Hill. I would do that straight up. I mean, Puka's hurt, but at the same time, Waddle is like hurt, not hurt, hurt, not hurt. If you don't need Waddle right now, and you feel like you can stash Puka, then wait. It says, would you trade Waddle for Puka? I also have Hill. Okay, I read it correctly. Yeah, I'm a Puka guy. But the only thing with Puka is that Puka is hurt. How long is he going to be out? That's the scary part. So if it's Dynasty, yes, give me Puka over Waddle. If it's redraft, you might want to hang on to Waddle because you just don't know how long Puka is going to be out. But if you feel like you can trade Waddle and not miss him, then definitely make that deal. All right, in 1 quarterback league, it says, Andre says 1 quarterback league. Who would you rather have? Who would you rather move? I'd rather move Anthony Richardson, but I feel like Josh Allen would possibly get you more. But I'm an Allen guy. I have Allen all over. So I'm keeping Allen, and I would rather trade Anthony Richardson. So kind of like play with it and kind of see what you can get. Give me Josh Allen, trade AR5. Uptown Dre says, I had B-Rob, Jay Reed, Xavier Worthy on the bench, and still got the dub. Close call. I mean, you got lucky there. I've been banging on the table, telling everybody Jaden Reed is the number 1 wide receiver in that offense. Now with Malik Willis coming in, I don't know what that offense is going to look like with Malik Willis. But I'm a Jaden Reed guy. I started him in several leagues. I missed out starting Addison over Reed in 2 leagues. It was an oversight. But yeah, those were big time performers. I was wrong about Xavier Worthy. They're using him correctly. He is going to be a beast. Rashee Rice, I was wrong about him. I thought, legal issues. He's going to be a beast. But when Hollywood comes back, what's the dynamics of the pecking order? Because obviously you're paying Hollywood Brown, so don't sleep on Hollywood Brown. But that offense is going to be good. I have Patrick Mahomes potentially throwing 50 TDs this season. I could be totally wrong, but I just have that feeling that he's gotten the best weapons that he's had for years to come. And then Kelsey, although he had a bad week, he should bounce back in week 2. Michael says probably after week 6. Bye. Okay, I feel you. Andre says the injury risk of AR5 scares me a little. What kind of package would you ask for? So if I'm trading AR5, which when he's healthy, he's a top 4 QB. So I look at points, right? If AR5 is a guy that's scoring 20 to 25 points, I need a receiver that's going to get me 20 to 25 points. I need a running back that's – you're not going to get a running back that gets you 20 to 25 points, but your best bet is getting an elite receiver or an elite type receiver. So even if you can't get a top-tier guy, try to trade AR5 for a guy like Worthy or a guy like Rashee Rice or a guy like Jaden Reed, because it's a 1 QB league. QBs are not as valuable, but at the same time, he is elite when healthy. But yeah, that injury risk is always going to be there. It's always there for 80 QB that runs, from Lamar to Jaden Daniels to whoever. Any running QB, when they're healthy, they look great. When they get hurt, you're going to cry. So if that scares you, Josh Allen is also going to run more this year, so you might want to keep both. I don't know. Michael says, how many better, or how much better do you think Puka is than Waddle when both are healthy? Oh, when both are healthy, give me Puka, man. I've seen Puka get a 20 target game. Like we've seen Puka, what was it, like 1,300 yards, 9 TDs. I mean, he broke every single record as a rookie receiver, right? So Puka over Waddle by a lot. You know, Waddle is great, but at the end of the day, Tyreek Hill is still there. So give me Puka all day long. I can't even compare the two. Uptown Dre says, who is the better starter? Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams? Have both QBs. The better starter is Jaden Daniels, and it's not even close. We don't know what we have in Caleb Williams. He did not look good versus a good defense in the Titans. The Titans don't have an elite defense or a great defense. They have a good defense. But at the end of the day, who would I go with? I'm going with Jaden Daniels. We saw Jaden Daniels move the ball with his legs. Okay, so I started Daniels. He goes, I started Daniels against the Bucs. That's good move. Good move. Dre says JD5 looked promising, bro. I hope him and Terry can connect, can get a connection going next week. I pray so. So here's the thing with this next week's matchup. The Commanders' offense looks pretty bad, right? The Giants look bad offensively, defensively, special teams, right? The Commanders' defense looks terrible. The Giants' offense is terrible. So the Commanders is a DST that I'm going to stream this week if I have no other option. Now, with the Commanders not having a pass rush, not having corners, scares me. So you can see a Malik Neighbors and Daniel Jones playing well. Daniel Jones plays well versus the Commanders, right? But JD looks great. The Giants have another group of guys, like another tough pass rush. So that's another thing. Can he complete some passes? It seems like he didn't connect with his wide receivers. Was it that, I mean, I really don't even know the scheme. I don't know what's going on, but for Terry to have so little is scary for me in fantasy. I was thinking that Terry was going to have a great season this year, which he still can, but that whole offense scares me. It's going to take some time. We have to realize Jaden is a rookie. He did look to pass, but he ran a lot. So hopefully there is a connection there. So we're going to continue. I think I'm on running backs. I'm going to run through some more of the running backs, and then I'm going to take a few more of the comments. So moving on along, if you're like, one thing I want to tell you guys is that I don't want you guys to overreact because of what happened or what didn't happen in week 1. Week 1 is week 1. I'm seeing people trying to sell Kelsey, Andrews, Kincaid, some of these players that didn't play well. Things happen. I think the last time I was on David Montgomery at 17, Alexander Madison, big surprise, huge surprise at RB18 with 16.2 points. He's going to be a top waiver wire ad if he's available in your leagues. Bijan Robinson, RB19. We're still waiting for that breakout game this season. RB20, Pacheco. RB21, Kyron Williams. RB22, Zach Moss. RB23, James Cook. And RB24, old man OG Ezekiel Elliott. Let's look at some of the running backs that did not perform and hit the top 24 this week. Josh Jacobs did not hit the top 24 this week. Travis Etienne did not hit the top 24 because of Tank Bigsby getting 70-plus yards rushing. Andre says, how did your teams do this week? My teams did good. I'm in a million leagues. I can't even tell you how many leagues I'm in. But I won more than I lost. I play a lot of money leagues, and the goal this year is to win $5K playing fantasy football. So we'll see if I hit that goal this year. Andre says, a chain is the guy in Miami right now. He is, but I think, isn't Mostert kind of hurt? Jalen Wright is hurt. So they use a bunch of different running backs. When all the backs are healthy, you can definitely see multiple people getting carries. So I don't really too much look at that. Andre says, Manny, Etienne did fumble on the goal line, though, right before scoring his second TD. Ouch. So that's pretty much what did it for Etienne. Had he gotten that second TD, he definitely would have been a little bit higher. He did have 70% of the snaps. So that's good. That's good. Even with Tank Bigsby being there, Tank Bigsby got 32% of the snaps, and Etienne got 70. So, but with Tank Bigsby, man, he looked good. He looked good. 73 rushing yards. But it's still no cause for alarm. I still think Etienne has a pretty good season. Derrick Henry, man, RB31. Jonathan Taylor. I mean, some of these elite dudes, Najee Harris is a guy that I'm thinking should do very well this year with the contract year. But Najee Harris, nowhere to be found. Emmanuel Wilson is the guy I want you guys to pick up from the waiver wire. He's going to be there supporting Josh Jacobs. Even when Marshawn Lloyd comes back, he's not ready. Emmanuel Wilson is going to be a cheap target to pick up. If anything happens to Josh Jacobs, you have a top 20 back in Emmanuel Wilson based off of production, based off of, getting volume and, getting carries. Uptown Dre says, I have a chain in McCarthy. Pretty good picks, pretty solid guys. I loved McCarthy a lot this year. And then with him getting hurt, he's still a guy that I'm stashing in dynasty leagues. You can acquire him now. There's some guys that are coming off of McCarthy, but McCarthy is a pretty – and I know a lot of you guys are possibly sad about Chase Brown. I had high hopes for him. DeAndre Swift, man, what the heck was he doing? That whole Bears offense looks terrible. But it's week one. We cannot overreact. I did say that. That's my number one rule. Do not overreact week one. But DeAndre Swift did not look good at all. Ended up RB44. Rico Dowdle, a guy that everybody said, could be something. He was RB47. And then Jaylen Warren, a guy that everybody was excited about, him taking some carries from Najee Harris. Najee Harris seems to be the main guy. Jaylen Warren, only 31% of snaps this week. Raheem Mostert did not look good week one. Gus Edwards did not look good. So things could be different in week two. Don't overreact from week one. Game scripts. When you're winning, you're running the ball. When you're losing, you're passing the ball. So all those things come into play. Let's get to the wide receivers. That are my favorite position in fantasy football. And some of these numbers are going to confuse you guys. Jaden Reed was wide receiver 1. Cooper Kupp was wide receiver 2. But Cooper Kupp had 21 targets. 14 receptions, 110 yards. It seems like Cooper Kupp is back. If the Puka injury lingers, Cooper Kupp is fully healthy. This guy could potentially be wide receiver 1 this season. His touchdown numbers are going to go up. The targets are going to go up. Just watch what happens next week. Speaking of waiver wire ads, Tyler Johnson is going to be the top waiver wire ad in Dynasty, and he's going to be a top 5 waiver wire ad in redraft leagues. So Tyler Johnson from Minnesota, this is his 4th year. He looked good. With Puka being out, Tyler Johnson could get targets in that offense. For Cooper Kupp to get 21 targets, man, this is a guy that you want to try to grab right now in trades if you can. I don't care what you got to do to get Cooper Kupp in redraft leagues, package a couple guys. This guy is back, and when he's healthy, he's one of the best. Allen Lazard came in wide receiver 3. I'm scratching my head on this one because he had a good game. You know, he had 5 receptions, 89 yards. He had 2 touchdowns, 1 in garbage time. He did have 9 targets. And it did seem like him and Aaron Rodgers had that chemistry that they've had back in Green Bay. So Allen Lazard, wide receiver 3. Tyreek Hill, wide receiver 4. That incident was crazy. You guys go back, check out the video if you guys haven't seen it yet. But for him to have his mind right, come out, play this game, and have a pretty good game, 12 targets, 7 receptions, 130 yards, 1 touchdown. Tyreek Hill's one of them guys that can have a crazy, crazy game and win you your week single-handedly. Jameson Williams, welcome to the NFL. Wide receiver 5 this week. Played a great game, 5 receptions, 121 yards, and the score. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Jameson Williams. Mike Evans, against the Commanders' trash defense and secondary, wide receiver 6. He had 5 receptions, 61 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. A.J. Brown, wide receiver 7. Chris Godwin, wide receiver 8. The Commanders were able to produce 2 top 8 receivers. That's just how trash this Commanders defense is. And do not be surprised if Malik Neighbors and or Wan'Dale Robinson end up finishing top 24 this week. So those 2 guys could be 2 nice flex players this week. Uptown Dre says, should I start Reed and Worthy instead of Mike Evans and Terry? No, you got to start Mike Evans. You got to start Mike Evans. I don't care what you do. You got to start Reed. You got to start Mike Evans. The other 2 are toss-ups. Tarnvar, thank you so much for hopping on the channel. He says, 14-man league, I traded A.J. Brown, Diggs, and Javonte Williams for Ford Pickens and Garrett Wilson. My other players are Amari Cooper, Kelsey, Kamara, Zamir White. W or sell. It's tough. If this is Dynasty, then I can kind of say, okay, you're getting Pickens and Garrett Wilson, who Garrett Wilson should have an amazing season this year. So Garrett Wilson and A.J. Brown cancels. Diggs is older. Javonte Williams is kind of shaky. Give me Jerome Ford over Javonte Williams right now, and then definitely give me Pickens over. So, yeah, it's a win. It's a win. I mean, you got other players in there. I love it. I love it. I don't hate it. I do think that A.J. Brown is going to be a top 7 receiver like he is every year. What I do like best about this is I think that Garrett Wilson has a better season than A.J. Brown. And then with Diggs, with that offense, you don't know who it's going to be. This week it was Diggs. He didn't have the yards, but he had the touchdowns. Next week, Diggs might not get the touchdowns, and then he might have 5 points. So I love this deal for you. Pickens is going to be the main guy, especially when Russell Wilson comes back. You guys are going to see a different George Pickens. As good as Fields is all right, give me Russell Wilson as a passer. And then Jerome Ford is Jerome Ford. He's going to be nice until Nick Chubb comes back. Even with Nick Chubb coming back, Jerome Ford is still going to be a nice player. Tarnvar said, this is not Dynasty. He says regular. Okay, cool. Says needed that RB to upgrade. I mean, I feel you. Like I said, you didn't lose anything when it comes to the wide receivers. Yes, A.J. Brown is him, but I do think that Garrett Wilson is going to have a heck of a season. So if you're asking me, Diggs or Pickens, give me Pickens. So you won that deal. 14-man. Excellent trade. All right, let's get back to the receivers. Stephon Diggs, I just talked about him. 6 receptions, 33 yards, 2 scores. He's not going to do this every single week. And if he's not going to get the yards or the targets, or if he's getting short receptions, I don't know. But Diggs will have weeks that he gets you 20-plus points. Alec Pierce, my guy Alec Pierce, stepped up, showed out, had 3 receptions, 125 yards, and a score. He's going to be another top waiver wire ad, but I only like Alec Pierce next week if Josh Downs does not play. So it's something to kind of keep an eye out on. Alec Pierce is a pretty good player, and if he's available in Dynasty, definitely go scoop him. Xavier Worthy, wide receiver 11. Debo Samuel's wide receiver 12. That rounds up the wide receiver ones, those top 12s. Andre says, how do you feel about Jamar Chase? Jamar Chase is pretty interesting because I don't trust that Bengals offense. Joe Burrow looks crazy. It seems like Joe Burrow needs Jamar Chase and he needs T. Higgins. Losing Joe Mixon, I mean, it's showing. Like that Zach Moss and Chase Brown thing is not working. But that's just week one. This is week one. Jamar Chase does have the ability to go crazy. Any given week, Jamar Chase can give you 5 to 10 receptions, 180 yards, and 3 scores. He's that good. But this offense, something is off. Something is off. I don't know if it's Joe Burrow coming back from injury. Something is off. And then we know with the whole contract thing, so they didn't really get some reps in the offseason and even, in training camp leading into preseason. So Jamar Chase is going to be fine. But I'm so glad that I did not touch Jamar Chase this year. He burned me last year to start the year, started out slow. But when it matters, he's definitely going to step up. Jamar Chase is a phenomenal talent. But one thing I want to say about Jamar Chase is in Dynasty, they treat him like a top producer. He has not produced top numbers outside of his rookie season. He's been okay. He's been solid. He has an elite QB. That whole T. Higgins thing, we'll see what happens there. All right. Andre says, I did trade after the opening Chiefs game. I traded James Cook and Rice for Pacheco and Olave. Do I like the trade? Let's break this thing down. Give me James Cook over Pacheco because of the receiving upside. Right now, if Rice does not get suspended at all, you can say Rice could have that same production as Olave, if not better. So I like the deal for you. I love the offense. I love how Rice is being used right now. He looks like the bona fide number one wide receiver on that team. He's going to have monster games where he gets monster targets, monster receptions. So from a reception standpoint, Rice is going to out-receive Olave. And could potentially have the touchdown upside as well. I told you guys I'm predicting Patrick Mahomes to have 50 passing TDs this year. So somebody got to catch him, right? And James Cook, like I said, that offense is going to run. They're going to run, and it's going to be predicated around the run game. So I love this deal for you. It's a solid deal. It says my running backs are Pacheco, K9, and Monty now. Solid. Oh, I read that backwards. So you traded away James Cook and Rice and got Pacheco and Olave. Gotcha. I like the James Cook and Rice side a little bit more. But Pacheco is nice. He's going to get all the carries, all the work until, Clyde Edwards-Helaire comes back. But, I mean, it's a solid deal. It can go either way. But I like Cook and Rice more than I like Pacheco and Olave. And it's not a popular take. It's not a popular take. Uptown Dre says, should my FSU guy Keon Coleman be a low-end starter over Terry? Keon Coleman is going to be a dog. And to be honest, I trust Josh Allen as a passer over Jaden Daniels as a passer right now. So, yes, definitely give me Keon Coleman over Terry until they kind of figure out what's going on. Now, this could be a week where Terry kind of gets off. So, I mean, it can go either way. It says no Chase nor Jefferson in my draft board. I got Pacheco, and he's solid, and he's a solid receiver. Keep him slim. Yeah. Again, Pacheco could have a big season if he gets his receptions up. Pacheco is really nice. He's really nice. I'm not saying that I don't like Pacheco, but I think that James Cook has that. Jahmyr Gibbs has that. Breece Hall, Kamara, CMC type of receiving skill. So with that being said, and with Buffalo not having a lot of receivers, I like James Cook. George, appreciate you hopping on the stream, says, should I use my waiver wire number one priority on Bucky Irvin or Tank Bigsby? If so, should I drop Trey Benson or Blake Corum? I would say it's safe right now to drop a Trey Benson, especially if Connor's healthy. Blake Corum is a guy that I would keep over Benson just because we don't know how that backfield's going to shake out. But Kyron Williams seems to be the guy. I mean, both guys right now are not priorities. Now, using your number one waiver priority on Bucky or Tank, I wouldn't do that. But if you desperately need a running back, then go ahead. I would save that number one priority for next week. Maybe some better options become available because of Rashad White still being healthy and ETN still being healthy. It does not make neither one of those two running backs number one waiver wire priority, in my opinion. And if you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe, please like, please share. I appreciate you guys. Andre says, here's my starting lineup. Josh Allen, Pacheco, K9, Jamar, Garrett Wilson, Olave, Kelsey, and in the flex, you got Godwin or Brian Thomas Jr. Really solid team. Redraft 10-man. It sounds like a 10-man. If that's a 12-man, I'll say, man, you are the GOAT of redraft because that's a really, really good team, really, really solid team. That team should contend for a championship. Andre says, I kind of want to trade Jamar. I don't know for who, though. Put him out there. Put him out there on the trade block. See what you can get. If you get a player that you like, definitely pull the trigger, make a deal. There's going to be somebody out there who loves Jamar Chase. I used to be a big Jamar Chase guy, but over the course of last year and heading into this year, I've been backing away more and more from Jamar Chase. When I can get other guys like Jefferson, when I can get other guys, even downgrade, get guys like Ayuk, there's so many other receivers you can kind of go and get that could be just as productive. Puka, for example. So, yeah, you can definitely try to trade a Jamar Chase. Maybe go trade Jamar Chase for Puka. Plus, being that Puka's hurt right now, maybe you get Jamar Chase. You trade him and then you get Puka plus a starting caliber top 24 type receiver or maybe an elite back. I don't know. Since you have Godwin, plug in Godwin and then definitely go grab you a back that you feel could perform. And then who knows? That could work out for you if Puka comes back and he's healthy and he's as productive as he was last year. Shout out to Nico Collins, wide receiver 13. I mean, this guy, 6 receptions for 117. Rashee Rice, wide receiver 14. Rashad Shaheed, a top waiver wire pick, wide receiver 15. Jaylen Warren, wide receiver 16. Justin Jefferson with a modest 15.9 points. I was grateful for that. He did have that touchdown. Wide receiver 17. Devontae Smith, wide receiver 18. Ladd McConkey, the rookie, with coming in at wide receiver 19. Brian Thomas Jr., another rookie, coming in at wide receiver 20. Brandon Cooks, the old Wally vet that always solid, nice flex play each week. Brandon Cooks, wide receiver 21. Tyler Lockett, another old reliable wide receiver 22. I'm disappointed in JSN. I'm thinking that this is going to be the year that JSN balls out, but as long as Tyler Lockett is there with DK Metcalf, they're going to continue to knock JSN down. I mean, he needs targets. I mean, he's going to have his games, but, man, Tyler Lockett just continues to produce. CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver 23. George Pickens runs it out with wide receiver 24. And there were some receivers that didn't even hit the top 25, like Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson, Malik Neighbors, Zay Flowers. The list goes on. Devontae Adams. DJ Moore. Jacoby Myers, who was a top 24 guy last year. So this list goes on and on and on. Tank Dell, Puka because of the injury. All the receivers on the Bears and Titans are unplayable right now, including the receivers on the Commanders right now, including receivers on the Broncos. There's going to be multiple groups of receivers that I don't even want to touch. Michael Pittman ended up with 4 receptions for 31 yards, wide receiver 58. Horrible. Man, Keenan Allen, Jordan Addison. I mean, there's some big names at the bottom. Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver 66. Can we get some production in week 2, please? Because some of these guys cost me a lot of points this week. Andre writes, any moves you would make looking at my starters? No moves. Keep your starters as is. The thing with fantasy managers is sometimes you feel like you have to make moves. If you're winning, if you're winning big, definitely keep your starters. If you start to lose and get on a streak of losing, then definitely you want to switch some things up. But when everything is working, when you have high-end guys, top-end guys, definitely keep those guys. Your starters look great. Like I said, you should be competing for a championship this season. I'm going to run through tight ends real quick. I'm only going to do the top 12 tight ends. And I'm gonna give you guys some of my waiver guys, and then I'm gonna go ahead and end the show because I gotta go hoop. I gotta go hoop tonight. Andre says, I'm not a fan of the Chicago's OC at all. I mean, who is? Uptown Dre says, I have McBride at tight end and Bowers. Could Brock take over the fantasy spot during the season? I like Brock Bowers. I like McBride. I would keep both, but if you must trade one, you can trade Bowers. But if you feel like you can get more from McBride, then you can do that as well. I don't know how good Brock Bowers is going to be this year. I know Laporta came in and did some great things last year, but anything can happen. So I'm getting into tight ends. And the number one tight end in fantasy was Isaiah Likely. The number 2 tight end is going to shock all of you guys. I guarantee you guys that nobody knows who the number 2 tight end was this week. And that's Foster Moreau. 4 receptions, 43 yards, and a touchdown, ended up being the tight end 2. The tight end 2. It was a miserable week for tight ends. So it really didn't even matter. Like if you didn't have Foster Moreau or Isaiah Likely, you did not have an advantage this week with tight end. Brock Bowers came in tight end 3. Pitts came in 4. Juwan Johnson at 5. Colby Parkinson at 6. Chig at 7. McBride at 8. Laporta at 9. And Njoku at 10. Kittle at 11. Dallas Goedert at 12. I'm going to stop there because it gets worse and worse and worse. Dallas Goedert with 9.1 points came in as the number 12 tight end in fantasy this week. Guys like Travis Kelce was nowhere to be found. Guys like Gesicki, who I was expecting to have a uptick playing with Joe Burrow, nothing. Dalton Schultz, nothing. Jake Ferguson, nothing. And then Jake Ferguson is lost with injury. So pretty much snag any tight ends you want out of free agency. I can't really tell you pick up this guy or that guy. It's going to be one of those things where you just wish it and hoping. Mark Andrews gave us nothing. Like, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And the further I go down this list, Kincaid gave us 2.6 points, ended up tight end 38. So the list goes on and on and on with a lot of underperforming tight ends like Evan Ingram, and the list goes on and on and on. So with tight ends, you have 2 good ones right there with McBride and Bowers. Keep those guys, shop those guys. Maybe you can upgrade your running back. You can upgrade your wide receiver room with those guys. But with the way that the tight end position is looking so far in a small sample size, I would say I would keep them. Uptown Dre writes, K. Pitts is a major disappointment the past few seasons. Yes, but he should be better this year with Kirk Cousins. So definitely rock with Kyle Pitts this year. I'm a believer of Kyle Pitts this season. I don't like him. I don't trust him. But I'm a believer. I do feel like with the tight end landscape being how it is, he could be a guy that gets pretty good, points or production from time to time. If you guys are new to the channel, please like, please subscribe, and please share. I'm going to catch you guys on the next episode. I said I was going to get into more waiver type stuff, and I wasn't able to because of the interaction with you guys. I enjoyed it. I could possibly be back tonight. I don't know. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel. This was a fantasy recap for week 1 and a little bit of waiver wire. I might hop back on sometime tonight, just do strictly waiver wire for about maybe 20 to 30 minutes. Love you guys. Catch you guys on that next stream. I'm out. Peace.